When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Hey there, everybody! Welcome to another version of Eye on the Target Radio with Rob and Amanda.
Another version or exciting episode?
Oh, I guess it is an episode, not a version. It's my version. Is it your version? Right? Something like that. Isn't it funny how one word,
Words have meaning.
The words have meaning, and sometimes you go to say something and it flies out of your mouth as a completely different word, and it wasn't the, yeah.
Right. Well, English is not really anybody's primary language in the.
It is not anybody's friend. To that, just sit down and write, spell out every version of there, and see how many you can come up with. Right? Correct. So, what have you been doing? Anything good?
Nothing.
Paddling like
nothing good.
Paddling like a duck. It has been raining here.
I never do nothing good. So.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I've been thinking about shooting, but I haven't been out doing it. And like I say, it's been raining every day, so it's
it is. I saw the local range was having one of their USPSA shoots, and I was like,
this is kind of like when Forrest Gump was
raining sideways and up and down and everything. It's like it comes in all different directions, and then it's already about ankle deep everywhere you walk. So
it is. So what is the theme song for the state of Ohio? Squish, 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 squish.
We're in monsoon season.
Right, something like that, or a splish splash. I was taking a bath. So there's not been any new Ohio legislation going on, but there's action and things that are happening in other states.
Joe Biden's got a lot of things he's got planned, so
he's definitely got a lot. So let's start though by talking about some of the states and what's happening in those. Remember last month where we were talking about Hawaii, and they're like, just in the spirit of aloha, you can't have any stinking guns. And even though Hawaii's Second Amendment is almost word for word the United States Second Amendment, the Supreme Court of Hawaii, they ruled that the state's constitutional arms provision does not protect any individual right. Yet, when you look at the 27 words that are on the federal, it's exactly the same. Exactly the same, but it's how you interpret it, and you're back to words. Words have meaning.
It seems funny that if it was only about the government, they don't really need to write it down at that point, since they're the ones that make the rules.
They just will keep making the rules. Well, pay attention to what's happening now in Oregon and in Washington. So remember,
those people are self-inflicted. I don't know what they whoever votes the stuff in, and then they are.
No. You do not understand how this works. Is the big cities
the edges along the water control the whole state, and
the big cities drag the rest of the state along with it. And so there's people in rural Oregon and in rural Washington going, wait, you don't speak for me. But obviously they do. So Measure 114 in Oregon had come through, and it looks like it is going to be deemed unconstitutional. And it's a fight, and it's an expensive fight.
In Washington, they have House Bill 2118, which is coming up, and even the newspaper up there says that it unnecessarily tightens the reins on gun dealers while using the public safety as a smokescreen. So it's gonna go. It's gonna do everything the other one did plus some. So they'll be back in the courts with that too.
Well, so that's Washington, then Oregon. So they're saying that the challengers for Oregon's Measure 114 have a legitimate likelihood of success on the merits. So there is that. So then the Oregon Court of Appeals denied a request by the state's attorney general to put a hold on the lower court ruling declaring the state's voter approved, so voted in ban on large capacity magazines. And so So the voters voted for a large capacity magazine ban. The court then said not constitutional. Then the attorney general's like,
They should count how many magazines are out there and see if it's
in common use.
In common use.
We need to talk about that in common use thing. We're gonna have to send him a dictionary or a thesaurus that explains what that really means. But so a few days ago, then Washington struck down their ban on large capacity magazines as unconstitutional, and so they're both getting pushed back against.
California's been doing that over and over again,
right? So it really is
to catch on. Maybe
they're not catching on. they're not. The states are like, we are the state lawmakers. We get to make this up, and this is that. Here's the thing.
We
if
see
it's
you're
listed
unconstitutional, and we raise you
another
magazine.
Another unconstitutional. So it is states' rights unless it is already listed in the Constitution. The government should not stick their nose into it if it is not part of the Constitution. And so this is where some issues are states' rights and some issues are federal. And that's where the struggle is. But it seems as if
with the states' rights for a long time, because originally it said that the states had the rights, and then they kind of gave them up in 1818, and they've been riding along doing nothing for 150, 180 years, and decided now that they want some of their rights back. It's not going good for them.
It's a struggle. It's going to be that we're going to have to send all of the state attorneys general, back to law school, or to buff them up a little bit.
For a long time, we had thought it was either going to be gun control, abortion, or
medical marijuana.
Marijuana was going to be the fight for the states' rights, and then it got right to the end, and all three of them tried to bust through the door at the same time.
All at the same time, like the Kool-Aid Man. they're all coming through. But so 2022 was an interesting year for that. It really was. But yeah, so it's gonna take a while. But I think that they're starting to get it. I mean, just the fact that they're sitting here saying, you passed a law, that law doesn't become a law if it is deemed unconstitutional. And then I'll tell you, kids, what really, really matters is making sure that when you elect judges, that you know where those judges stand on politics. Because there are so many activist judges who do legislate from the bench when they shouldn't.
Right. You need to actually pay attention to that. If somebody actually should probably write a little article about each one so that
as to
you get to see which column to put them in.
Right. Well, they're working on, in a lot of states and a lot of things, they're working on putting their political designation behind a judge.
This person doesn't know a judge. Only criminals know judges.
there's
So it's when it comes time to go, it's all just a guy that sounds like I know his name. So if he's named after a famous restaurant or a bottle of water, then
I swear that the Judge Captain Crunch would do really well.
Right. But if he's he has an obscure name like Bill Reynolds or something like that, nobody's ever heard of him. He doesn't stand a chance.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, because it really matters. I mean, you look at all of the time and effort and energy that California has put into from the time that some of this stuff started to happen, the pushback from it. And so they really are looking at the pushback and trying to make it so that they don't get quite so much I don't know how to say this. It's just, you know, the the laws went into effect and they were egregious, and then people started pushing back, and then they made some ground, and then the judge just shoved them off the cliff, and then they made some ground and they clawed their way back up the cliff, and then the judge shoved them off the cliff, and so just about the time that they were like, ta-da, we're here, a judge goes, boom, there you go. You off the cliff.
Kicks him in the face.
There's a lot to that. We'll be back right after these messages.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie. I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
So, as you were kind of leading off in the last segment about the new Biden regime, ATF regime decisions on FFLs and buying and selling guns and the gun show
Well,
loophole.
the thing is, this new stuff with the gun show loophole is there's a lot of rules to getting an FFL. You can't just go in and say I want one, especially if you're just going to run one out of your house anymore.
Right. So
Bill Clinton kind of stopped that. So we had a FFL for a long time. You had to actually show a building, a commercial building address. You had to have
with
a letter
commercial
from
hours.
right. You had to have a letter from your local zoning saying it was okay to do it. You had to there was a lot of things, and even then, once you got the FFL, you couldn't buy guns from the distributors until you showed them that you had. At that time, we had to have a phone book ad. We had to have a picture of our storefront. We had to have the actual posted hours, and so
Right.
they're not going to go for a guy who wants to sell one gun and allow him to apply for a $250 license to buy a.
But that's what they're saying, and so it's.
So are they going to make another category of license for the weekend gun show guy?
It doesn't look like that. So this is where this gets crazy. So here they are, the ATF, and the ATF is saying that there are 25,000 people that it claims are selling guns in violation of the standards, that they are in the business even though they are not in the business.
So vague that
right.
There's a lot more than 25,000 people who are in the business by their rules. And by selling one gun, if you make a profit on that gun,
right.
you could, and especially if you bought the gun in 1970 and you're selling it today, it's hard not to make a profit.
Well, so they have, so some of the rules that they're saying indicate that you are in the business is, are you repetitively buying and or selling firearms? Okay, that's a lot of my friends.
But
we'll just say,
if you're buying them, you're not dealing in it because you're not selling them, right?
So there you go. The circumstances on which you are selling firearms and whether or not you are looking to make a profit. I don't sell anything that I own and with the intent that I'm just going to give it away.
Right. Nobody wants to lose money.
I'm really trying hard not to lose money. It's very important to note, they say, that no single factor is the determinant, and any of these factors depend on the facts and the circumstances applicable to the individual seller. So if I don't like you, then you must be a dealer, even though you are not a licensed dealer. So the government's version in the definition of who should get a license or not is it just pretty much is going to say it depends.
Right, and like I say, if you just want a license because you want to sell one or two guns, you want to buy some, they're not going to play that game.
They're not going to let you have it. But so part of their definition is they'll know it when they see it. Right? They'll know those criminals when they see it. And so they say that they're going to start this PR blitz so that everybody understands if they're in the business or not in the business. And so then if you try to get an FFL, they're not going to let you get an FFL. So if we were all, if we were all evil-minded people with a spare $225,
we should all go the same day and apply for an FFL.
We should all.
And if you think about every gun owner across the country applied for an FFL because I may want to buy or sell a gun in the future.
Well,
I'm going to buy low and sell high. So
when the Clinton era crackdown on the gun dealers happened, there were 252,000 gun dealers in the United States. And by 2014, there were 55,000. So they lost 200,000 FFLs. So if their goal was to have licensed FFLs, to track it, to follow the rules, to do all the stuff, then that would be fabulous. And they instead jettisoned 200,000 of them.
I wonder, though, on some of that, if you get right down to the brass tacks, I mean, in that time frame, I probably lost 17 friends due to old age that were FFL
that were FFLs.
And so is it just that the younger generation can't afford to play or doesn't play by the...
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was
or is it that they're just harder on it? And I know that there's a lot of hoops to jump through if you're trying to get a license.
Well, and there was a lot of hoops to go through when we got one. Right in the middle of that window is when we applied for our FFL, and there was a lot of hoops to jump through. So this will be interesting, but it's like the government doesn't make sense to the government.
At that time, there was a form if you bought multiple pistols at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't matter how many rifles you bought, but if you bought more than 2 pistols at the same time, you had to fill out this multiple purchase form, and one copy of it you kept in your records, and one copy you sent to your local law enforcement, and the other copy you sent to the government. And they made it nice and easy. You fold it in half, stapled it, put a stamp on it, mailed it. I would mail it, and then it would come back like 3 months, 4 months later, shredded to pieces from the mail system.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd end up having to call them and send them
wad it up into an envelope and send it back.
And then I mailed it to my local sheriff's department, who is my law enforcement guy, and he calls me one day. He's like, "What am I supposed to do with this?" And I'm like, "It just says you're supposed to keep it because I don't know why." And he's like, "Well, I'll make you a file, but I have no idea what we're doing with it."
I'll make you a file, which means the funny part is we are not the only FFL in the county.
But I was the only one that was playing by the rules.
By the rules, apparently, because he's holding it going, what am I supposed to do with this thing? And I've never seen one of these. And it's like, well, this is what the rules say. So instead, you talk to your frequent shoppers and you say, if you wait 1 week and pick this up, you don't have to do a multiple purchase form. You can get one this week and you can get one next week if they're pistols. But that's called scamming
probably illegal
the system
too, because I know, like, if you a bank like that they can get you for staging, they call it.
Can they?
So if you want to bank like a criminal, just go put all your money in the bank the same day.
If you want to bank like a criminal. I think I need guidance on that. I don't know how to bank like a criminal. We'll be back right after this.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the backseat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Well, there's some really interesting articles coming out all over the place talking about governments and government overreach. Have you seen there's actually there's a Supreme Court case that I didn't know that was happening, but the Supreme Court case is actually talking about the no-fly list. When was the last time that you actually heard about the government's no-fly list?
They talk about it occasionally, but everybody tries to forget about it because once you're on it, you can't get off of it.
Right. There was a 5-year-old that they put on it. You know what could he have done? Not take his nap when he was supposed to?
Well, the thing is, if you Google yourself, you'll find out there's 200 or 300 of you. So how do they know which one of you is the one that's on the list?
I do not know, right? So there is the Supreme Court. This is April. We only have 2 more months to wait to see. It's sort of like it's the Super Bowl of court cases that's coming up, right? That we only have 2 more months to be able to hear.
But every year is just exciting. So I guess the Super Bowl does happen every year. So.
Same, right? There are so many cases that are going to come through the Supreme Court this year that have way more meaning.
Well, these guys are, if you're a Supreme Court junkie,
I'm getting to be one.
These players that they have are superstars in the fact that they look ahead, they look at different things, and not just what the law is saying, it's how is it going to impact other things around it. Mm-hmm. And it's not a skill that everyone has.
No.
And you used to be able to hear Scalia talk about it and how it worked, and it was like the average person doesn't think like that. And so I don't know how you would get to where you think. I don't know
how you train somebody to think.
Right, I mean, you can't critically think on 27 different planes at one time about how is this going to affect. I mean, how is the fish hatchery bill going to affect something else that
oil wells and
or growing carrots in the Southwest or whatever.
Exactly. All I can think of when that happens is when you look at me and you're like, "You're not thinking 3-dimensional there, Marty," and it's like I don't know that I have the ability to think 3-dimensional.
You have to think 5-dimensional on some of this stuff because it's not only what will it do now, but what will it do in the future, and how will they extort it to be something that it's not?
And extort it, distort it. So
or exploit it.
Maybe that's a better word. So the interesting thing is do you think that the Supreme Court justices just kind of read technology manuals and newspapers and everything else when they're not working? Just
to super nerds that don't have friends. Don't have real friends.
Don't have real friends.
Their friends are kind of like my friends, and nobody else is their friend because they're so far out.
They're so out there. Okay. Probably not wrong there. There is that. But I mean, think about the cases that are coming through. I mean, this Cargill versus Garland, the Chevron case, the Vulo and the First Amendment case. There's just the Rahimi and due process.
These have already gone through multiple court cases to get to this point. Mm-hmm. So if it's that, why can't we all just get along thing? Now these guys have to look at it as to why we can't get along and what makes it so special.
I can tell you, activist judges.
What makes it so special that someone farther down the line couldn't have settled this years ago, millions of dollars ago, instead of
because you're not the boss of me,
and I come up here and inconvenience me when I could be.
I'm gonna pull this car over and I'm gonna slap you silly in the back seat.
I could be sitting in my office watching the Boomerang channel and.
I'm not quite sure that Clarence Thomas is going to watch. He's not going to watch the Gunsmoke channel. He's not going to watch the Boomerang channel. What is the Boomerang channel?
Cartoons, old cartoons.
Definitely. He's probably more likely to watch the Gunsmoke channel, but I don't even think that one. Or something. Okay. Crazy.
You just got to clear your head. Nothing like watching a 40-year-old cartoon to do it for you.
I don't know that I watched 40-year-old cartoons 40 years ago. I didn't. So this week coming up, we are headed to New Jersey to spend some quality time with Teresa Einacker, the CNJFO the Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners in New Jersey. The Dick Heller is going to be there, John Petrolino, Charlie Cook. So it's like all a convergence of East Coasters are all going to be in New Jersey.
Only these East Coasters don't coast; they're full throttle into it.
They are full throttle. There is
no
that.
Coasting with that group.
None at all. None. But we will be doing our show live directly after that event, so we'll be able to tell you what it's like to spend another quality evening
Maybe
with.
We can con a couple of them have been on the air with us.
With Dick Heller, the grandfather of the Second Amendment, right? I'm telling you, folks, he is. When you ask him the history of something, he will.
Hold on to your hat because you're going back to 1320.
You are. You absolutely are. And then he starts to. I mean, there's a book about a gun manufacturer, and it's called The Arms of Krupp. And when you open the book, it's huge and thick. When you open it, it says, "And the first Krupp walked out of the woods," and that is what, when talking to Dick Heller, reminds me of, right? It's like, well, when the first caveman decided he wasn't living in a cave anymore and he stood up straight and he come walking out, that's when we're going to start talking about history. And he picked up a rock because that's the history that we're going to start talking about. And it is decidedly interesting. I mean, when you have conversations with people who not just make history, but are history, right? you want to kind of get an idea of where they're coming from, what they're thinking, how they got there, all of this kind of stuff.
You know, the funny part is they are like everyone else, and I'm just here as a placeholder till the real guy comes along to take this job from me.
Well, there was, when you talked to him, there was a whole plethora of people who started in the Heller versus DC case that were then found to not have sufficient standing. They moved, they aged out, whatever the thing was. And Dick became the lead plaintiff as the last man standing.
It's
right?
like that thing where you get to be the oldest person on the earth for a couple of days till somebody else takes it from you.
Well, they only take it because you get to be the oldest person on earth until you're not on earth.
Until you relinquish the throne.
Right. They don't. Well, they may take it from you, but I don't anticipate that another 100-year-old is coming over to do you in and take your spot. I think relinquish is a much better thought than they taking it, because they're not taking anything. But anyhow, I just
funny.
No. So, do you have any big questions you're going to ask Dick Heller?
No, just when I get there, like, I don't forget everything.
We can give you a little notebook, and you can take notes. You can make notes of what to ask him.
I can sit for 6 hours next to Sebastian Gorka, and I can't think of one thing.
One thing to say to him. You know, I mean, there is a spot where it's like, no, I'm just taking it in. Whatever he wants to say, I will absorb it as he intends to deliver it.
You learn more by keeping your ears open and your mouth shut. So.
Right.
And then also that other thing about keep your mouth shut and be thought a fool instead of open your mouth and prove it.
There is that when you open your mouth, the first thing that comes out is there is a lot of that. But no, this is Teresa Einacker, who runs the New Jersey chapter of Women for Gun Rights, does an amazing fundraiser on an annual basis with a great lineup of speakers and, just CNBC, and there's all kinds of stuff happening. And so it's absolutely always so much fun to go and do it. The 7-hour drive, not so much fun. 7 hours back, not so much fun. But, okay. But the 2 hours in the middle of the 14-hour drive, that's fun.
It's not all that. You pass the time by talking to 100 different people on the phone the whole way we're going somewhere. So
I got stuff to do. I've got people to talk to. There is who, me talk? But I can't imagine. I absolutely cannot imagine.
We're about out of time here on this section.
Yeah, so we're going to come back after this commercial break. And what are we talking about when we come back?
We'll talk about how Joe Biden hates AR-15s.
Okay. Can he even spell it? We'll be back.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seffacool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
We're back, and we're talking about there's an article that Tom Knighton rolled out with this week, and it's the same thing as Rob started.
Well, first off, we said here about this Biden thing. So let's talk about Biden and his AR-15 ban. If you listen to his State of the Union speech in 2022, 2023, 2024, he hates AR-15 and high-capacity magazines, and he's vowed to go after them, but it's showing that the public doesn't share his sentiments, and so they're not going along with they're not very supportive in his actions to take their guns away from him. So is that actually a good move, or is it just because somebody with money is pushing him.
Exactly, because in 2023 he said we need a ban on assault weapons and high capacity magazines again. In 2022 he says, and folks, ban assault weapons and high capacity magazines that hold up to 100 rounds. And then he said the famous, you think that the deer are wearing Kevlar vests, right? So that didn't win him any favors at all. But the American public has become less and less supportive. And we've talked about this. And the reason is that it used to be that they were with the influx, I think it's with the influx of the 24-hour news cycle, then people are now getting crime pushed at them, crime pushed at them, crime pushed at them.
There's two I think there's more than 2 layers, but at least 2 layers of this. Back in the 70s, they would talk about a drug dealer and his cache of weapons or something. And they would show you he had like 2 shotguns and a muzzle loader or something, and he'd be out in his front yard in the news,
spread out on the sidewalk, and show you, yeah.
And then concealed carry came to everyone's neighborhood, and people realized that when they're talking about that cache of weapons, that's their gun they're talking about. They carry around in their pocket.
But I think concealed carry only became popular because of the 24-hour news cycle. Because before that, it is such.
In my neighborhood, people concealed carried before it was legal, and they just
there was
don't ask, don't tell. Was a
but it was, you knew the people who did, and it wasn't your mom, and it wasn't the bus driver, and it wasn't the lady who was sang in the choir at church.
You sure? I know a little old lady who carried a great big giant knife in her pocket book because she thought she might need it. And
there are some, but it wasn't.
They just knew to keep their mouth shut and not tell everybody they had the thing. So it got more popular though, as we're seeing more and more crime, and then there's videos every day of them stealing your purse out of your car, and they're stealing your car, and they're stealing your kids, and they're taking everything and doing whatever to you. So nobody wants that to happen to them, and so guns are being more popular. And then if you watch the news, we're seeing the world is right on the edge of World War III, and our neighborhoods are just right on the edge of a new civil war. And so which team are you going to be on, the guy with the guns or the guy without the guns? So,
right.
Everybody wants to be on the team with the guns, so some of them want to be in it so good that they'll go and get some training and buy bullets and all that stuff. Some people just buy a gun figuring that somebody will give them bullets, or they'll find some bullets, like in the Mario Brothers game or something.
Well, yeah, you make your way to here, and guess what?
Bust the box open, and there's bullets and a first aid kit, and then you go on about your business until you find something better.
I think you gotta have a bullet first. I'm just gonna say. So it's not like that game where you take your cell phone and it tells you that there's like a little fluttering something in the park, and you got to go collect them, whatever that is. Okay, it's not like that where there's
bullet game. That'd be a popular game. I would play that.
Could you imagine though? You could get first aid kits and flashlights and magazines and all of that, but right. it doesn't work that way.
See, Amazon could do something like that, where if you collected a certain amount of it, then they'd send you some of it, and then you could play and pay, and everybody would be playing that so much that Amazon would be a first name basis. They'd name their kids after everybody. Kid would be named Amazon.
Amazon is already on a first name basis, but okay. I'm just saying. But what? I mean, not to make it political, but it is political. What made the Democrats decide that guns and lack of crime, or crime, soft on crime, or this no dollar bail and all of that kind of stuff? What made them decide that was the hill, literally, that they're going to die on?
Well, I think that if you look, their voting constituency is mostly inner city blacks, and all of those points, bullet points, or whatever points you want to call them, are touchstones that all inner city blacks have dealt with at one point or another, whether it's guns or bail or excessive bail or bad cops or whatever it is. And so the Democrats have championed all of these things, even though they're not. I mean, in reality,
it's not really the rank and file, but it is something that people have heard.
But I mean, it should be that they should be wanting the people to be played by the rules more than to change the rules to satisfy the way they are playing. You know what I mean? There's a lot of gray area in this, and we've talked about it before. Where once these kids, I mean, and it's black or white, whichever. You get into the system, and they get your number, and now you're in that system until you age out at about 30 years old. So you either in prison, they stop you every 25 feet to give you a ticket.
You're paying high. You're paying high insurance, and they stop you they know your name.
Your car is being towed. Your car is being impounded. Everything that they can do to inconvenience these, say, 15 to 25-year-olds. And once you're spotted as one of these, it's almost like your license plate's tagged, and they just tune in on you.
Well, and it may be because of the automatic readers on license plates that you're a frequent flyer, if you will.
My kid just turned 33, and he has just finally got away from an SR-22 bond. I mean, he actually grew up 10 years ago, but it's taken this long to clean his record up enough that he's a normal, productive member of society again.
Because he was a guy with a need for speed, and
right, and he had unusual cars that just drew attention. So they when you're driving a Suburban on 44s, it's they pretty much say, "Look at me."
Look at me. Well, yeah, exactly. But I see your point where, and I don't know how does society go about fixing it, because to pick someone out because of something and to keep focusing
back to the early 60s when they started to take the fathers out of the homes, and then you've seen the baby mamas on the TV where there's like, my baby doesn't do nothing wrong, blah blah blah, and he don't have to listen to you, and you ain't the boss of him. Well, yes, they are the boss of him, and they billy club him every couple of minutes just to prove that.
To prove it. And so it's not going to go good for him if he,
Right, so who do you listen to, Mom or the guy with the billy club? And
I don't know. I think the guy with the billy club, but have you seen the videos of the mom with the billy club where she looks out the window and sees her kid doing something she didn't want him to do? She gets him by the ear, twists his ear, drags him back to the apartment. I love them. I'm like, go, Mom, go. Right?
It used to be that moms did that. Sometimes the neighbor actually did that. And as we get farther away from the church, we get farther away from the neighbors. I mean, when I was a kid, everybody knew the neighbors. The neighbors would stop in and complain about everything under the sun. Now nobody even knows the neighbor. It's like, oh yeah, that guy lives across the street. He goes to work at 5 a.m, and I've never talked to him in 14 years I've lived here.
I've not seen him at all. So. Anyhow, see, that was Rob Unleashed. I don't let him loose very often. We'll be back after the commercial break.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Shooter standby.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
So welcome to Hour 2 of Eye on the Target Radio. And we're going to start off by talking a little bit about prosecuting people for crimes committed by other people, and the concept that you are guilty by association, or you are guilty because you should have taken action, or you are guilty because you should have known.
Well, we started this back in the 70s when if you were the getaway driver, you got charged with if someone got killed in a robbery or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's but now it's escalated to where we just had parents were fined for whatever the child had done, and then we're seeing Alex Baldwin.
They weren't fined. So in Michigan, both the mom and the dad.
One got 10 years in prison, the other got 18 or something.
Yeah, so that's not a fine. That is...
It's a fine. They're paying with their life. Okay. They got 18 years of life now. Think about it. If you went to court and they took you away, what happens to all your stuff if you're in prison for 18 years? When you come back, everything's gone.
Right.
So there isn't somebody that, like, executors out your estate and saves the money for you. They just let it ride till it eats itself, and then the government takes it away from you, and then you're kind of stuck with nothing at the end. And then in 18 years, they kick you back out on the street and say, "Have a nice day."
There you go. So they
and if you look at this case, they were not stellar parents. They were not the best, but it's a slippery slope that when these guys now are guilty.
Right. It's easy to blame these guys. It's easy to see where this line is.
But the next one, I mean, everybody's had a teenager, and there's a spot where they think something is fun without thinking it completely through, and sometimes they don't live through the experience. Sometimes they do live through the experience, but others don't. Sometimes just bad things happen all around, and if you're going to end up being held responsible for everything that this halfwit does in the name of entertainment, it's going to cause you...
And you're not on handcuff them to their bedroom wall. So there's...
I mean, it's the kind of thing, how big of an insurance policy do you need to buy in preparation for your kid to hit 13?
For having a kid, right?
Right, he's going to be 13. I'm going to need to buy a $100 million insurance policy till he's 25 or 26 now. They say he's still your charge till he's 26 years old. So how many parents are ready to sign on for that now?
Well, and it's not just parents, right? There's that. But in Virginia, an assistant principal was charged with child abuse after failing to intervene when that 6-year-old went after his teacher with a gun. But the 6-year-old was a little hellion, and the teacher had warned people multiple times. The assistant principal, ignored all of the signs, all of the everything, and so he's
when I was in school, had that kid been in there, they would have shook him out by the pant leg in the morning to make sure he didn't have anything all day long, and then somebody would have been keeping a closer eye on him. Right. Today, you can't touch the guy, you can't ask him questions.
We don't do any of that. So
society is killing itself slowly, and this is just one more step in how it's going to happen.
So they're prosecuting people for crimes that others commit. Well, look at the Rust movie. Hannah Gutierrez Reed, in the original information that came out, like the first 6 months,
she was hired to be in charge of the guns and the stuff on the thing, and then they blocked her from actually being on the set
because they had the Rona, and so they wanted to.
Had an assistant who was on the scene doing it, and then also too every normal gun rules tell you to treat every gun as if it's loaded. So if someone hands you a gun and says to shoot somebody or don't shoot somebody, you should check that gun and know if you're going to be able to carry that out one way or the other. And so there's personal responsibility in there that was skirted.
Well, so there's so no doubt about it. But it's easy to pick the gun handler. No, what was she called? The gun wrangler. I don't know I don't know exactly what the gunsmith, but she had a word. There was a word for that.
Right. She was just the manager of all the guns and stuff on the scene, but I don't know what the actual name.
So she had, and it was the assistant.
I think now she's scapegoat. I think is the
term. The assistant director is the person who actually handed the gun, and So one of our listeners says that they're a teacher of kids with behavioral disorders, and he frisks several kids daily. They're 10, and I concur, because it's like, where are we going? And the 6-year-old had a history of violence in that story. So when you start to look at all of this stuff, if the armorer, that's the word, if the armorer was the person who's responsible, then the armorer's sole responsibility would have been those firearms. But since other people had them, other people shot them for entertainment, and the armorer was also given a secondary job. So here, go get the Kool-Aid or something. I don't know what it was. You're the caterer and the armorer, right? Multitasking. But it is, where does that responsibility lie? And in the end, someone is dead. So society says somebody has to pay because somebody is dead. But
and
is it the right person who's paying?
Since we don't get to see how all this plays out on the movie side of it, how hard is it to get an armorer today, and who's
going to sign up to be the armorer for the next movie?
What extra things have been put in place for all armorers just because this one was mishandled at this point?
I do not know. I know that you and I know that when we were on the movie set for White Boy Rick, that trying to get non-gun people not to handle guns was like, look, dude, I'm going to have to hit you. I'm going to smack you if you don't touch it.
Look like you should pick them up, and your finger just naturally goes on the trigger.
Don't touch it.
Ergonomics is perfect on everything except for an 1889 Bolero.
We spent 12 hours
slapping
people and telling them, don't touch it. Do not touch it. It's there to look at. Look at it. Do not touch it.
Even my book, they're touching my book. I'm like, no.
Don't touch my book. Do not touch this book.
It's a couple $100 book. Don't just thumb through it for entertainment.
I mean, because there's a poor guy who's carrying around a hot dog for 12 hours because they gave it to him and told him to look like he was eating it. Well, you cannot look like you were eating it for 12 hours. Well, he tried to give it the old college try in the beginning, and then it wasn't a prop any longer. Now it was just gross. But so he's holding his hot dog and then wants to touch your book or wants to touch the gun and it's like, no, do not. So it is, we'll just say I'll never do another movie because that is just mayhem.
What we learned in one movie that was enough for us. We're not Matthew McConaughey. Like
we are not. We are not.
But going back to this personal responsibility thing, I mean, how far is it going to go with what they're doing away with this bail and all this stuff? So now you got zero responsibility to.
So if you actually do it, you don't have responsibility. If you are in the semicircle around them, you then have responsibility. So it looks like there's more and more value to being a hermit that says, I hate all y'all, get away from me.
Or being an actual criminal. Or you could be the evil criminal, and then things would go okay for you too. But you can't be a what do they call it? An innocent bystander. That's
because there's no such thing. And you can't be somebody who's like, in this case, works in the school, decides you're having kids. It's you are guilty by association. I mean, I could see it when you're driving the getaway car from robbing a bank. You pretty much knew what you were signing up for.
Right, but you see these bartenders where they overserve somebody. How overserved does somebody have to be, and how
are they really overserved? Is that dude really drunk, or is he just a jerk? Right? How can I tell? How was he before he had a drink?
And my job was to sell as much stuff to him as I possibly could. So.
Right, that was my goal. So we'll be back.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the backseat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, so we are back, and so we were on the Rust conversation, and one of the things that you said was that in all probability, when that movie comes out, it is going to be
a blockbuster hit due to the fact everybody's been 2 years of hearing about it. They all want to go see it, and even though they're not going to show you shooting her, we're all bloodthirsty. What do you want to call it?
Jerks.
But anyhow, we want to see that. We'll pay for review for some of the nastiest stuff you could think of, just because we want to be there front row.
Yeah, I know. I'll pass. Passing. So where does that stand right now? Is he still being prosecuted? Because they dropped the charges and then they re-brought the charges back up.
Here's some stuff where she talks about what is going on in the thing, and where he was on George Stephanopoulos' show and said that he didn't pull the trigger, and they proved that he actually did pull the trigger, and so things are going to happen for him too. It's just how long it's going to take.
Right. So Baldwin was charged. Dave Halls was charged. And so they're saying that Gutierrez Reed was not scapegoated. She's not being given a break at the same time. Yeah, right. So it's just we'll find out. We will absolutely find out how it all, because it will make the news again and again and again and again, because the gun folks, I'm not sure why they're using a real gun on a movie set if they have to aim it at people. You know, that's that spot where we have enough technology now that they don't need. In the 50s, there was no technology to add noise and add things.
Yeah, it needed noise, all that stuff, and now they can all add that in afterwards. Also, too, I know on some of the machine gun stuff that they do, the thing is built to fire backwards, so the blanks go in the gun backwards, and the firing pin is in the barrel, so when the bullet's hammered in, it goes off and then blows the action open, and so it's happening inside the action, and there's no way for anything to get out the front.
Okay.
So they use it's a
blank. It's completely different.
It's a blank. They just modified the gun, so instead of it firing forward, it fires backwards into itself.
Okay. Well, and I mean, one would think that this would need to make industry changes. You know, and I'm sure that this is not the only movie set incident. This is just the one that is.
You see them once in a while, and they had that. What was the Bruce Lee? I think it was Brandon Lee was killed on the set with the blank gun that fired wad of paper or wooden pellet or something. I don't know what was. But anyhow, and so there's accidents all the time. People are shot, people are stabbed, people are killed. Some of that stuff is dangerous, and that's why they tell you don't point a gun at anybody that you don't intend to shoot them, because
and even if it's pretend, you don't do it. And so, yeah.
Right. When we were kids, my mom wouldn't let us buy silhouette targets because
she wouldn't. She also wouldn't let you have BB guns because you needed to know the respect for them. Because as soon as you got a BB,
somebody with a shotgun, but you shoot them with a pellet gun or something.
A BB gun. So what did they do?
We got them and we shot each other with them.
Exactly.
And everything else that we could get hold of.
Exactly. I was younger. I was younger, I had a music box that was a jewelry box, and it had this little bird on a perch that you'd crank it up, and the bird would sing, and it would go back and forth.
So you shot it with a pellet gun?
I didn't shoot it with a pellet gun. I came home, and my music box, when you cranked it up, the bird had fallen off and was being dragged by one foot back and forth. He didn't survive the encounter. Someone had used him for target practice and
wasn't me.
Didn't think I would notice. In addition to my closet door.
See what I tell you about teenagers and their not fully developed brain and a good plan that's not fully thought out?
Yes.
I understand how that stuff happens.
How exactly that happens. It was. Well, we'll just say that it's been 50 years since that happened.
So you should have got over it by now.
I am not over it. I am not over it. I can still see that poor little stuffed artificial bird being dragged back and forth as the music slowly played. It's like little birdie funeral dirge because it was sad. It was just really, really sad. Do you not remember that like that?
No, get over it.
It happened in my formative years. It is now who I am.
Luckily, we didn't use the flintlock on
it. Luckily, we didn't. Jeez, Louie. I'm telling you that to grow up with Rob Campbell as your brother, and the things that he did to me, I do not know why I sit in studio beside him. And
because it's part of your well-rounded education, and that's what made you a better person overall.
Remember when you taught me how to jump my bicycle, but you told me that you had to work your way up to having a ramp? Yeah, and so you made me fall in the ditch multiple times?
See, I was teaching you some engineering skills, and you just didn't catch on well.
I did catch on at some point, because I no longer played with you guys, but there was that. Yes.
So anyhow, have you seen some of the stuff about the new ATF's final, I don't know what they call it, the final solution?
They call everything the final rule.
Isn't that what Hitler called it, the final solution or something?
I don't think that the ATF and is trying to channel their
this engaged in business is a new term that's going to bite them.
But they're trying to call it the final rule on that, and we know that the ATF has no such thing as final rules because it's the rule they had before they changed their mind and all that. When we come back, we're going to talk more about it.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.IamTheTargetRadio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.IamTheTargetRadio.com for Rust is Bad.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Okay, so I pretty much led the show for the last hour and a half. So what is it that you want to talk about?
Well, some of this stuff with the ATF and their new rules.
Okay.
Part of that thing that Biden had passed a couple of years ago. Let's see, where is it at? It's
what thing did Biden pass?
His Safer Community Act, or
the 2022 Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. Yes,
right.
that
okay,
thing.
In there was part of this where they want to do this engage in the business, change the rules, and make sure that if you're getting a profit, so at the time that was being talked about in the Congress and all that stuff, they went after this guy because he was a criminal apparently, and he was an executive for an airport. He bought and sold 150 guns in like a year's time.
Okay.
And so instead of them actually contacting him and asking him what was going on or having him get a license or anything, they busted the door down and shot him to death. It shows that they had put tape over his Ring doorbell so that you couldn't see what they were doing outside. And then they came in. They didn't bother to. It says nowhere in there that
did they identify themselves or anything?
Identified him or anything.
And so when he picked up a gun to defend,
well, he was armed. They said, and one of the ATF agents was shot in the foot, but doesn't say if he shot himself in the foot
or someone else. Yes.
But, so it doesn't say if he got his gun out or any of that stuff. But anyhow, they supposedly just kicked the door in and went in and did the stuff. So it's would a registered letter have done just as good without killing the guy? Maybe he would have applied for his license and all that stuff. Would it have been better if they would have went to the gun show or wherever he was selling and asked him about it while he's in the middle of the crowd. And
well, it's sort of like the whole Texas David Koresh thing, where that guy left every week to go and left the compound by himself to go for golf lessons on a weekly basis.
Well, he went to the post office and to McDonald's to get a coffee too.
But
on his bicycle, they knew that.
But his golf lessons were scheduled, consistent, periodic, frequent, repetitive. Right? You knew exactly when.
You could catch him while he's out instead of having the.
So no, this is that. So it's, and there is no recourse because the guys.
He's dead. Nobody else says that shouldn't have happened, but it's going to happen again a couple of dozen times before we straighten this out.
And it shouldn't happen. And then the agents that are involved in this, where is their level of responsibility versus following rules, following orders, following direction? So who gave the direction? Where does, it used to be the politicians say the buck stopped here.
Right. Well,
there is no buck stops anywhere now.
In this article I was reading, the supposition is that Biden directed this, but no one will admit to that.
But,
and so,
I have a hard time with that. And the hard time is not that he wasn't, in the general sense of, I don't want somebody to be able to do this and we need to find someone to make an example of. But the fact that Joe Biden would know this airport executive and say, that's the guy, I don't believe.
Maybe just said we need to find a guy, and this guy's lottery number came up, and instead of him hitting the $1.1 billion Powerball, he got Powerball.
Right. Now, and I believe that, but it's hard pressed to be like, there's a spot where make an example of someone. How did it get to be this guy?
Well, that's the thing. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the guy that makes it to the Supreme Court. You don't want to be
the guy who has standing for any of these court cases.
You want to be that hermit that stays hidden in the house and says,
I don't
stay
like
away
people.
from me, all y'all.
All y'all. Get away from me, people. There's way too people-y out there for me.
But sometimes by being that hermit, that draws attention to you, and they make an example of you at that point, too.
Just call me Randy Weaver. Right?
Right.
Because
they go out to the woods and find you, and then they kill your kids and your dog and everything just for entertainment to prove a point.
To prove a point. It's the principle.
Right. Your government has nothing against killing you to prove a point.
Because somebody needs to be,
Nothing says we understand how your things are happening, like if they just wipe you out.
And then there's an example, and look at that. Don't be like David Koresh. Don't be like Randy Weaver. Don't be like this Malinowski.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Yep. Try to be as plain vanilla as you possibly can. You want to be that gray man, I think they call it.
I don't know. Remember that guy that you'd see his suit walk around, but there was nobody in it? That's who you want to be.
Invisible Man.
That one. That's who you want to be.
Yep, you got to just be kind of right there on the edge of society so that you are there, but you aren't there.
You're not. You're absolutely.
So Hunter Biden's in the news again. He's trying to get the gun charges to go away. It's not working out for him.
I know. Darn it. Golly, jeepers.
It's this wheels of justice where they say they move slow and they grind fine and all this stuff. They're moving way too slow, and I don't know if they're grinding as fine as we would like.
As we would like it to be there.
I believe there's some adjustment needs necessary in this water wheel of justice.
Right. So he has asked, he petitioned the court to have the gun charges tossed out of court. And a federal judge in Delaware on Friday denied the effort and said that he rejected the claim that the case is politically motivated. it might have raised political awareness because of who he is, but the case has merit. The case actually has more merit because when the Hunter Biden laptop and all of its pictures came out, there's a picture of Hunter Biden sans pants holding a gun. And the gun is not the gun on the 4473 form that they're charging him with right now.
So he has more than one gun.
He has more than one gun. Where did the other gun go to? If the Colt from the 4473 ended up at the stop and go in the trash can, where did the other gun go? Where did it end up? What is the deal with that? Yeah. So
I'm kind of surprised though they haven't used Bruin to push this out.
They may still, because if they can, how funny. I mean, and we're going to just keep saying it. How absolutely funny will it be that Joe Biden wants to outlaw guns, and yet his son's legal problems
it's going to do away with the 4473 form at the gun shop altogether, because you can start to lie on it and say whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want to do. If they make it to where it is illegal to lie, because that's part of the defense. They're saying is that is self-incrimination if you have to answer the question on the form.
It has been ruled in the past that it is part of the Fifth Amendment rights for a criminal not to say that he's a criminal. So if he fills out the form and he says that he's a criminal, he's self-incriminating at that point. So what is the actual rules on this?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I just wish it would hurry up.
It's funny because as we watch that, Colorado they're trying to do an assault weapons ban. Wyoming, the neighbor, says we've got concealed carry. Now we're going after gun-free zones. So they're trying to knock away all gun-free zones, and so you'll be even allowed to go to school and everything like this. So people are melting down about the fact that adults are going to be allowed to go into school with the gun. But the one says there's no reason why a citizen from the street should actually be in the school anyways. So there's in most schools are already locked. The doors are locked, so you can't get in unless you check in with
unless
somebody.
You have a reason. So that would be their.
So it ain't like just people are walking through because it's a shortcut. To the stop and go or something.
And the locking down of the schools. I mean, think about it. The Sandy Hook, he shot out the glass and then opened the door to be able to get into the school. So security doesn't do...
When we were kids, remember the glass used to have like the chicken wire in it?
Right.
Even if you shot the glass out, you'd have some trouble getting through that cheese.
But they don't do that anymore because they don't want it to look industrial. They want it to look artsy. They don't want you to feel like you just went to juvenile detention. They want you to feel like the world is your oyster.
Yeah, well, I think the chicken wire glass was
way sturdier. No, do you know now they have I'm
sure they have some kind of a plastic coating on the glass.
Yeah, they have a squeegee on bulletproof coating that they can put on the glass now. But if it's bulletproof, how do you cut it to squeegee it on? I don't understand how all that works. I really don't. We'll be back right after these messages for the final segment of Eye on the Target Radio on this Sunday evening.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Rangemaster certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Okay, so we are back, and so you're talking about this Montana, was it Montana, the Montana bill?
No, it's Colorado.
Colorado. Okay, so Colorado is ending their legislative year from the looks of things because they're trying to push
Wyoming.
That's the
That's
one.
the one where they're trying to do a gun-free zone. So, and it's going to cover almost every gun-free zone, but they only have till Monday for it to go if it's done. And
Yeah, so here's one of the things about legislative years. Depending on the state, every state's got a weird calendar of what they do. So like Ohio, it's a 2-year cycle, and if by the end of the second year cycle If it hasn't made its way through, it's dead. You start over again. You can take that same text and resubmit it the next time, but it's got to start all over. Texas, on the other hand, does their stuff, and they only meet for a very compressed calendar of time once every 2 years. And so if you are a legislator for Texas, when they say that it is not a full-time job, they mean it, because you're just not there then the rest of the time. So every state is slightly different, and so when their calendar ends, what they do, how those things are. So there really gets to be this push that they're like, oh, once we get through the election, we'll have some more time. We can do some different things. No, well, not really, because once you're done trying to get elected, then immediately next is the budget. And then once you get past the budget, then, oh, well, now everybody's pushing for every single thing you've got to do. So there really isn't a good time to pause. But they always look like it is. They're like, okay, this is a good, we're just going to pause here for a little while and take a break.
I mean, think about it. If Washington was run the same way, how much stuff that they passed just as make work things wouldn't get through? So it would be better for us as a whole not to have to let them with their free time. It is workforce of the devil.
Have you looked at the congressional calendar? The congressional calendar of when the House and the Senate are there, because we work on trying to be there when both the House and Senate are there, and there are not a lot of times that it really kind of fit when both the House and the Senate's there, and a weekend.
The best part of their thing was back in the day they had to travel by horse and buggy, and they never updated their time thing. So just because you could jump on an Airbus and make it to California in a couple hours, they still give you that 3 weeks to make it there on your horse.
Well, there's that. There is that. The other part is you got to be able to go home to kiss babies, be at the fair, do all that kind of a thing, so that you are. So
right,
you
should have a 1 or 2 day travel day, and not a 3-month travel day.
I don't think it's 3 months, but it's substantial. But I think that they have, like, I don't know, all of October off, so that they can be home, because the election is in November, and since everybody in the House is up for re-election, it just is. That's the way it is. What's the business? The business is, I'm running for election this year. Next year I'll do something. This year I'm talking about
elected.
I'm getting elected. That is absolutely it. So, okay, so what else you got?
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff.
There's all kinds of stuff. I'm telling you.
Well, here's a senator that's pushing a new bill for Protection of Privacy and Purchasing Act, which is
I saw this.
They can't track you in your credit card purchases. California right now has where they can track it. They give it its own code and all this stuff.
Right. So because we've covered this a little, not this. We've covered the flaws of tracking, because it is not. I mean, it's sort of like that thing about who's guilty of a crime, just being an innocent bystander. If they can find a fence at a purchase that is perfectly legal, but they have to track it, then that means that they can. When I was working, they were doing key man insurance. They would look at the people that were critical to a corporation and say that these people had to have insurance. That key man insurance said, do you jump out of airplanes? Do you ride motorcycles? Do you skydive? Do you do these things? Are you into cliff diving or mountain climbing or that kind of thing? Because if so, we're not giving you key man insurance.
It should be all that none of your business thing.
I know, but they're not going to give you key man insurance for it. So I look at this in that same aspect where if they can track my purchase of a firearm, then they can track my purchase of a Hayabusa motorcycle.
Well, I would think that this, with them being able to track your purchase and stuff like that, that's like a illegal search and without the.
Well, yeah, and see, and I think
so
that
if they don't have a warrant, why should they be allowed to look at your purchase records?
Well, I concur. The other part is, are they going to look at it and say, look, you went to the grocery store and you bought Hostess Twinkies 3 times this week. You are fat enough that you don't need those. And so we're not going to insure you, you
right.
old fatty,
so
because...
The guy that jumps out of the airplane's a bad risk, but the sedentary guy who lays in his recliner and eats bonbons all day is the same bad risk.
I resemble that remark. So that's exactly my point. So I don't think that they should be able to track. There is no serial number.
So how long is it going to be before they start looking at your Apple Watch and see that you walk 0.2 of a mile or something this week?
I walk more than that, but okay. No, but exactly, exactly the point. So if they say that you then have an unhealthy lifestyle, and then we create this whole government insurance thing where there is...
Speaking of unhealthy lifestyle, did you go out and look at the eclipse last week?
Yes, I did.
Did you see all of the contrails that were, or chemtrails or whatever? So they got us all to go out and look at the thing, and then they sprayed the stuff on us. I don't know what all we got sprayed on us, but I mean, there was M's and W's and stars and hearts and moons and clovers and everything up there in every different direction. It's not naturally occurring just that the airplane was going by and there was one or two. There was 30 of them in the sky.
No, I didn't notice. I was too busy looking at the solar flare that was on the eclipse. Did you see that?
That thing that was at 7 o'clock?
Yes.
No, that was a spaceship. It was just shining through the windshield, so you were seeing the what was that, the prism effect of the sun coming through the windshield of the spaceship.
It was glinting off of that. Right. So our producer is commenting that you're on a roll today, and though you're not wearing your tinfoil hat, you are representing with your tinfoil hat. It is, I swear that sometimes his tinfoil hat is giant. It's a tinfoil sombrero today. And so it's a big one. But no, if you're in Tennessee, U.S. Senator Bill Hagerty deserves you to call him and say thank you, because he is trying to shut down the privacy in purchases and make it so that you can't, it's none of your business that I just bought Twinkies, Mentos, and Coke, right? I mean, none of your business. That's where that is. You may hear the explosion later on. Huh?
Science experiment.
I'm going to look like one of those people in Willy Wonka. We'll see.